everyone, I'm Bruno Diniz and I'm here with Ismail Chaib from Tesobe. Ismail is also running a project called the Open Bank Project, which is a project by Tesobe. So Ismail, first of all, I would like to understand from you the definition of open banking. What is it all about?
Sure. So open banking is this idea that banking customers owns their data. And as a customer, I can do what I want with my data, right? I can share it with others. So individuals or businesses will be able to take their transaction data from bank account and use it in different apps and services, right? So you might want to, you may see an SME, small business, getting transaction data and using it in an accounting software. Or me as an individual, I want to use a chatbot or a voice-driven app to check what my balance is, right? So this is the sort of things enabled by open banking. And it's an idea that started in our office in Berlin some 7-8 years ago. But now it's really a global movement, right? So we see across the planet different countries in Europe, UK, Australia, here in Mexico as well. Different countries have encouraging banks or pushing banks to open up and to adopt this concept of open banking.
Nice. And in Tesobe, that is based in Berlin, what you guys do there? Basically, what kind of services you provide?
Yeah, so looking at that, we really believe in the future every bank will be more open and customers will own their data, right? And so what we've tried to do with the Open Bank project is help bank expose APIs, expose data, and help them work with fintechs, with innovative solution providers. So really building a bridge between these two worlds. We believe fintech startups have, sometimes great ideas that can benefit the banks, that can benefit customers. But in most cases, these two words do not speak to each other, right? So what we try to do with the Open Bank Project is create a link and a bridge between the two. So Open Bank Project is an open source software solution. It helps over 40 banks expose APIs and work with fintechs and developers. We have over 10,000 developers around the world using our APIs and bringing new solution to market.
Interesting. You mentioned that there are different countries operating, and we know that many countries are trying to implement the open banking approach with their regulators. So what is the current status of different countries? Can you mention some countries that are doing more progress than the others? How is it going?
Well, I think the first open banking regulation that we got was in the UK. We were actually kind of part and instrumental in bringing that to life, as it were. It started in 2016. We now have something called PSD2, the Payment Service Directive in Europe, which is also similar regulation forcing all banks in Europe to open up. Australia, Mexico, I mentioned. We have lots of the countries, even here in Brazil, the central banks and the banks are looking into this topic and kind of trying to figure out what can be done, right? And I think when you look at open banking across the planet, there are two main dimensions to take into account, right? So it kind of gives us a 2x2 matrix, right? So you have, first dimension is it regulatory driven? Is it mandated by law that a bank should open up? Or is it market driven? Is it the bank or an association of banks coming together and saying, hey, this is something helpful, this is something good for our customers, we want to expose APIs and do open banking. So I think that's one dimension, right? Like, is it driven by market or regulators? The second dimension kind of that's important is, are we exposing data in a standardized manner or not? So is it a standard? All the banks, say in Brazil, have to publish data in the same format, or each bank to its own device come up with its own format, right? And obviously, depending on the kind of where you are in this matrix, there are pros and cons, right? Yeah. And I think, Brazil will sit somewhere in this 2x2 matrix. I would say also another really important dimension to this is, what is the scope of data that we are talking about, right? What are we really sharing? Most cases, we talk about access to account and transactions, with customer transactions, that's important. but also ATMs, branches, products, payment initiation services. So this kind of figuring out what's the scope is really essential, and that's what makes the difference between one country and another.
Nice. And talking about the banks that you also work, you advise banks and also regulators across the world. What are the main difficulties that from the companies and the bank sides they have into this process, into opening up their APIs and connecting with other players?
Great question. Actually, we've done a survey, kind of a study last year with the Warwick Business School in the UK. We've looked at exactly this question. So what are the main challenges facing banks when it comes to open banking? And by far, the kind of the top answer was the culture, right? So the internal culture of the bank. Banking has been sort of built and operate on a kind of a closed model and let's protect our walled garden for many years. And now we're bringing this idea of openness and kind of collaboration and fintech and all that stuff. And I think switching gears is what's proven to be extremely difficult, and at least the most difficult across board. So I think changing cultures, getting the senior leadership and the middle management to embrace this idea of open banking has been tremendously difficult. And then you have other challenges. Security obviously is one, data protection. The technology to lesser extent is also a challenge. But I think above all, really changing the culture internally is the most difficult, and that's why things that you do with hackathons, fintech competition, that sort of things, really bring tremendous value. It's not about the app that is built during the hackathon. We're not going to build the next Facebook overnight in a hackathon, but it's really the relationship we build across people. It's the kind of thinking and planting those seeds. That's really what you get out of this.
Yeah, it's nice to know that, because open banking is also thinking in a way about connecting, in fact, solutions that some fintechs can bring.
Absolutely.
and all the solutions and things that the banks can do. And in the end, we're talking about the client. It's a matter of what they can decide to do in terms of services that he can really take on. But for you, what are the main things, the main advantages and that the open banking will bring to the market, and also how it's going to effectively change the status quo of financial world?
Look, I'm slightly biased, right? But I think this is tremendously important. This will radically change how software is produced and maintained in financial services, right? Today, the bank does everything, build everything internally, right? When it comes to, let's build a new app or new chatbot, that's the bank doing that 100%. And it's owned by the bank. We are moving towards a model, and that's not just banking, by the way, right? Like, I think it's a trend across board. We are moving to a model where banks will collaborate more. Banks will do things in the open, will do things with others, and so won't own every piece of the stack, right? Particularly the user interfaces and in the UX. So I think, yeah, tremendously important. It will change how software is built in finance, how software is consumed. And you can look at it this way, right? Like, you can look at it, we operate in a model where banks give you, let's say, if it's kind of a restaurant, banks, you go to your bank, you go to the restaurant, and they always serve you the same food, right? Yeah. The same rice with beans that you guys love. But it's the same one for all of us every day, right? It's great, I love it as well, but at some point maybe one gets bored a little bit. An open banking, a post-open banking world, the restaurant becomes an open buffet, right? Where you go as a customer, you would go to that buffet and you would cherry pick and choose what works for you. It's really empowering the customer to decide what they want to, and having services that cater to particular customers need, right? Specifically micro segments. So tomorrow we will have maybe an app which speaks the balance for visually impaired persons. We'll have an app which is, for people in Brazil, help them send money abroad more easily, and so on and so forth. So for each category or each micro segment, we'll have a set of services dedicated to these people, and I think that's really what's revolutionary here.
So it's a really very much more customized,
personalized, absolutely,
and,
where the customers decide what to cherry pick.
Much more empowered in this relationship.
Absolutely.
So, Ismail, awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing your views on open banking.
Thank you.
And I hope you guys like it. And stay tuned and please follow Tesobe on the
So
internet.
yeah, we're openbankproject.com and @openbankproject on Twitter. Please come and say hi.
Okay, thank you, and
Cheers.
hope for the next episode.
Obrigado.